Hi everybody, so I'm back with my follow-up video part 2, but in this one, instead of the possible rapture date based on Ezra and 2nd Chronicles, I thought I'd take a look at the revelation or the revealing of the quote-unquote the Messiah from Daniel chapter 9 verses 24 through 25. And so I'll go ahead into that. And let me say from part 1 with the rapture date, right here being the 23rd through the 26th of January, my calculations were based on the 23rd of January, that being based on the 7th year of Artaxerxes, and when Ezra first arrived in Jerusalem on the first day of the 5th month, found in Ezra 7 verses 8 through 9. Now there does seem to be a convergence of this time frame. If you look in stellarium, there's a Saturn Venus conjunction on the 22nd in the constellation of Capricorn, and this all seems to kind of point towards, in my opinion, the Antichrist soon coming. And then there was on January 25th the first legislative Israeli election on January 25th, 1949, and you have Gebti who goes into that. So I would watch his channel. And then there's also the numerous people who are seeing 1111, just glancing over at clocks, and you have tons of people saying that. And if you look at the Enoch calendar that's put out by Repo Man 64, that date falls on January 24th. So you have a lot that's converging between the 22nd and the 26th of January. I would say this is definitely a very high rapture season, as well as you see all the events going on around the world, if anything. But the primary thing is to be saved. None of this matters. This is not getting it right on the date or close to it is not, that's what gets you into heaven. No, being saved is what gets you into heaven. So these dates are just secondary things, and it's just a means of providing information that we, in my opinion, I believe that we are indeed in the rapture season. So from there, I'll go into this one, which will be possible revealing of the Messiah, and this is part 2. So in Daniel chapter 9, verses 25 through 26, it talks about until Messiah the Prince. So I'll go into these verses here, and then I'll come back to the revealing of Messiah the Prince. So in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, it says, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. And this is the vision that Gabriel is talking to Daniel about. And that's to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. And then it goes on into verse 25. It says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The streets shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times. In verse 26, it goes on to say, and after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. And that one is referring to, if you've seen part 1 that I put out yesterday, that is referring to when Christ was crucified. But now we need to go back and look at the 7 weeks until Messiah the Prince. But if you notice here, firstly, that the restoration and building of Jerusalem has to occur. And as many of you know, Israel became a nation on May 14th, 1948, but they did not have the possession of the city of Jerusalem at that time. So therefore, for this prophecy to be fulfilled, Israel has to then have the holy city of Jerusalem, under their possession. So when did Israel capture the holy city of Jerusalem? Well, this occurred during the Six-Day War, which fell between the 5th and the 10th of June of 1967, and that's when they captured the city of Jerusalem. So on the 7th of June, 1967, Israel liberated the old city of Jerusalem, and on the final day of the Six-Day War, on the 10th, Israel conquered the Golan Heights. So at this point, after June 10th of 1967, that was the starting date that Daniel 9 verses 25 through 26 could actually begin to be fulfilled prophecy-wise. So for Daniel's 70 weeks, we had the 62 weeks until Messiah was cut off, and that was the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Then there's the 7 weeks, which I'm going to focus on again like I did yesterday, which is 49 years, and that so happened is a jubilee year, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And that's to the anointed one or the anointed ruler. And then 1 week or 7 years, which is Daniel's 70th week, that is for the people who are to come, and that'll be the onset of the 7 years of Daniel's 70th week, or 2,520 days. But right now I'm just going to focus again, as I did yesterday, on the 7 weeks or 49 years being a jubilee year. So now we need to go back to Daniel 9 verse 25 specifically, where it says, "Know therefore and understand, now that they have Jerusalem in their possession, that prophecy can then start to be fulfilled." And that was starting on June 10th of 1967, after the Six-Day War. And it says, "Until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks." And the 62 weeks was for the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. That's why it's divided into 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Otherwise, it would have said 69 weeks. So because this verse has, "It shall be 7 weeks until Messiah the Prince," and we're not looking at the 62 weeks because that was fulfilled with the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, the 70 weeks seems to be alluding to this being or rather leading up to a jubilee. And a jubilee is 49 years, so 7 weeks, and then the 50th is a year of rest and restoration. And that can be found in Leviticus 25 verses 8 through 10, the year of Jubilee, and it says, "And you shall count 7 Sabbaths of years," so 7 times 7 years, "and the time of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be to you 49 years. And then it goes on to say that the Jubilee falls on the 10th day of the 7th month, so on the Day of Atonement, which is Yom Kippur. And then in verse 10, it says, "And you shall consecrate the 50th year, which is the following year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee," or a jubilee year for you. And so this is when all your possessions are returned back to you. It's a year of rest and restoration during the 50th year, following 49 years. So now going back again to Daniel 9 verse 25 to know when the Messiah the Prince will appear, there shall be 7 weeks. So it's telling you it's 49 years prior to Messiah the Prince. And it goes on to say, and the street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublesome times or during times of war. So we need to determine when these 70 weeks, or rather 7 weeks or 49 years occurred, and it was during troublesome times as mentioned in Daniel 9:25. So now going back again to Leviticus 25 that talks about the year jubilees. I know that I'm bouncing back and forth, but it's essential to understand Daniel 9:25. We know that the conclusion of a 49-year jubilee ends on the 10th day of the 7th month, the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur, and then that is the start of the 50th year, which is the 50th year of restoration. So it just so happens that even in troublesome times or times of war, there was the 1973 Yom Kippur War, which was the year of Jubilee in 1973, and that fell between October 6th through the 25th of 1973. But that is the starting point of the 50th year, which is the Jubilee in 1973 on Yom Kippur, which was October 6th of 1973. But the count for the next 7 Sabbaths of years starts the year prior, and that would be in 1972 instead. So then the count to Messiah the Prince will then begin during the 49th year, which goes into the starting point of the next 7 Sabbaths of years. So the starting point would be about October 6th of 1972. So finally, when we add 49 years or 7 weeks to the October 6, 1972 year and date, we get October 6th of 2021, and that should be until Messiah the Prince or an anointed one or anointed ruler. But as with my last video in which we needed to consider the days of Noah, in which we revert the calendar back 6 months earlier, as I did with my last video for determining the season of the rapture, we need to do the same with this as well, because we're in the year 2021 for the count here, October 6, 2021. The days of Noah come into play. So as the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So the Jewish calendar reverts backwards 6 months to get you back to the calendar used during the days of Noah. So when you take October 26th of 2021 and you subtract the 6 months, you come to April 6th of 2021. So a lot of you will now say, hey, the Messiah didn't show up April or around the time of April 6th of 2021. So what's going on here? So I did some research a couple of years back on Messiah the Prince, and there was an article, in fact there's a couple of articles on the internet saying that the translation of Daniel was incorrect. It's a mistranslation of the Hebrew word Mashiach. So I'll just go ahead and read this, but it says the literal meaning means anointed and is an adjective, as in 1 Samuel 10 verses 1 to 2, where the word clearly means an act of consecration and not a personal pronoun that refers to a particular individual called, quote, the Messiah. It says there is no definite article, which is the Hebrew letter He, the fifth letter, before the word, which would translate into the Messiah or the anointed one. Therefore, in Daniel 9:24, the passage should be correctly translated as until an anointed prince, and not as until Messiah the prince. So the fact that it didn't have a definite article, and He actually just means the. So when you see HaMashiach, it means the Messiah. So with it just having Mashiach, and you can go see this in your Blue Letter Bible or the like, and it just has Mashiach without the He before the word. So it should be translated as an anointed prince, and again, not as until Messiah the prince. Well, since we know that Jesus Christ, the Messiah, did not appear around the time of April 6, 2021, that begs the question as to, based on Daniel 9:25, until an anointed one or anointed prince, who did show up, if anyone at all, around the time of April 6 of 2021. So on the evening of April 4th, 2021, there was this guy that just came out of the woodwork, which is this guy here. His name is Rav Shlomo Yehuda Berry, but to most people he's simply known as Rav Shlomo Yehuda. And although he's not a Yanuka, which is a child prodigy anymore, at the time in 2021 he was about 33 years old. So I find that to be rather interesting. So now I saw that he now has a YouTube channel, but he's going by Yanuka Rav Shlomo Yehuda, and Yanuka means a child prodigy, and they said now he's too old to be called that, but that's what he's referred to within the Christian community here. And Rav means a person who teaches Torah, a Jewish spiritual guide or a rabbi. And they say that he actually has all of the Torah and the Tanakh memorized completely. And then Shlomo is actually a nickname for Solomon, which means peaceable. And Yehuda means Judah. So whether this guy is the anointed one or the anointed ruler, the fact that he was revealed on the evening of April 4th, 2021, directly after the end of Passover, Pesach, during that year. It ended on that evening, and that's exactly the time that he showed up right after the end of Passover, that this guy came to the forefront. So whether he's the anointed one, I can't say or not, but the timing compared to the 49 years or 7 weeks after the Yom Kippur War of 1973 came to April 6th of 2021. This is April 4th of 2021, which is just 2 days earlier. So the Orthodox Jewish community in Jerusalem, and as well as the one in New York City, have acknowledged that they've been meeting with the so-called quote-unquote Messiah, but they have not come out and said as of yet, after these meetings, that this guy is in fact their Messiah. And as it says in the Bible, that in John 5 verse 43, that I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him ye shall receive. So if this guy is that person that fulfills this Bible verse, I think time will soon tell. But I wanted to get this information out as well pretty quickly, because the time is just ever so short. So do I believe that 2 Thessalonians 2 verses 3 through 4 has been fulfilled. No, I think it has not been fulfilled. The son of perdition or lawlessness has not sat on the physical temple, unless this is referring to your body being the temple as mentioned in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 19. But I think there's been nefarious stuff that's been occurring over the last 2.5 years. However, in this case, I do think that until Messiah the Prince or an anointed prince that's mentioned in Daniel 9:25 might have been fulfilled. So, like I said again, time will tell. I do think it's pretty ironic that he came on the scene on the evening after Pesach or Passover on April 4th of 2021, and the Daniel 29 calculation shows after the 1973 Yom Kippur War, which was a jubilee year, which pushes it back to 1972 plus 49 years, and then the days of Noah accounting for that, it ends up being April 6th of 2021, where this guy shows up. Rav Shlomo Yehuda is revealed on the evening of April 4th of 2021, 2 days earlier. So since I believe that we're both in a high rapture season, I'm looking at between the 22nd through the 26th of January in a couple of weeks, and the possible revealing of the quote-unquote Messiah has potentially occurred back in April of 2021, but now he has his own YouTube channel, which just recently came out. So watch the YouTube channel by Watchman Adam. He has that information on his YouTube channel. So I think they are about to formally reveal this person, Rav Shlomo Yehuda, as their Messiah, where before they've just have said that they've been meeting with him. So I think now that they're coming up with the YouTube channel, that's becoming a bit more formal. So this is the reason I wanted to put this video out pretty much back to back after the last one, as I think we're in a very critical time. So if you haven't been saved, please come to the Lord. And like I've said before, tomorrow isn't even promised, regardless of these things going on. And the main thing, regardless of the rapture dates and this guy being the potential Messiah or not, the main thing or the only thing is to be saved, repent, be saved, and then you're able to enter into the kingdom of heaven. The rest of this stuff is just additional information. Like I've said on some comments, that when we get into heaven, we're going to find out just how much we got right and how much we got wrong. So we'll be eating humble pie. And I heard earlier on another YouTube channel that the half hour of silence that's mentioned at the seventh seal is us going back and editing our presentations and charts and videos to reflect the correct information. So I thought that was rather funny. But anyway, please be as Bereans and test this information. Please share it if you would like to. But if you haven't come to the Lord, please come to the Lord quickly as well. And I hope that this information has been a blessing to you. So I think since there's so much occurring, this might be potentially my very last video. And if so, I will see you all in the clouds, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.